we're all mining on the same thing. But then also that payment is, an incentive, and people that are shareholders of these lands, if we agree to sort of to collate together, then you're probably going to end up earning more money because, and I'll show you some figures in a bit, is that you get this detail payment that I get. You also get the you gain access to the income that comes from the lands. So I'll just check. Oh, I was showing the wrong thing the whole time. Oh, it must have only just come back up. I'm not sure what happened. Alright, someone let me know what the last thing I said was. Jesus. I've been talking for literally 5 minutes. The last thing was it froze back a minute ago. A to Z. Yeah, so I don't want to be in a situation where we keep going all the way down to Z. So yeah, so what I wanted to this is what I thought I was showing the entire time, is that what I was suggesting is that rather we have all of these lands from A all the way to Z, is that we start to think, right, we're early on in this. We've achieved a lot faster than we thought we were going to, so therefore it kind of makes sense to look at restructuring now than later on when it could be a complete mess. And that I will just hold my hands up and say that the way that I was proposing was sort of, I think, was a good way to go if we were purely doing it through mining. However, with this also taking into account the investment and the speed, I don't think that the model that I've set out is the best way. And I'm now holding my hands up and said, look, I don't think that I proposed the initial best thing, and that I think that we should take some suggestions from the community and maybe look at this option and decide what's the best way forward. So, like I said, it would just be one set of lands that if you are a owner of the snaky tokens, you would potentially have access to revenue of all the lands in a way that I will set out. And that would include the detailed payment that I make for my lands and the commission revenue for those lands, and that's an incentive for people to join up, and let's pull our resources together so that it's not going to be SS Land A versus SS Land B versus me. We're all just going to be one community mining on one land, and we'll be able to do the tokens. It'll be a lot clearer for everyone. And the other thing is that we would do, people are concerned about the amount of investment. Some people are happy with the rapid growth, but maybe it makes more sense to take things a bit more steady and maybe do one last fundraising period. And I don't know whether we would say that we'd make that the final one ever, or maybe we would make it final one for a year or two. I don't know. I want people to give me feedback, and that maybe because we can't just constantly keep accepting money, because at some point the investments need to be paid back to people, and also I don't want it just to be a case of people see what we've got here in the community, and I like when they jump on board and they support it, but I don't want them to own such a large share that the miners feel that they can never be a part of it when a lot of the people that are just mining we started it all. So we need both. We need a balanced approach. We need help to grow, but we also need to make it fun for people. And this is a community, and it all started with helping one another, and I want it to remain that way. I have not very much interest in becoming extremely rich, so I just want to create the most fun experience, and the most more to me it's more about being a big guild and having more say in the game that I love, and gaining access to the government, being able to take part in the Thunderdome, the Binance missions. I want to experience every aspect of the game. That's what it's about for me. And I also want to help other people experience every aspect of the game. So that's what the whole thing comes down to. So I'm going to switch back to the diagram. I'm just going to take you through what a proposed structure could look like in that. So we take all of the revenue that the lands makes, right? The commission, the detail payment, and we just say, look, that's all going into, that's going all into one big pot, right? And then what we do is we say how we're going to split the pot up so that that 50% of that pot would be distributed back to the people that the miners and the investors that hold the tokens, and that they would own the shares for mining like we always have and investing, and that the 50% of the revenue would go to them. And then I'm suggesting that then for future land purchases, because we after this land purchase, and then maybe a future of one final one of raising funds and buying some more lands, we'll be in a very good position in that the revenue that those lands makes every week is quite high, and that we could take 20% of the revenue and we could be buying a lot of lands in the medium to short term. And I'm not calling it a land fund explicitly because we don't know what other features are going to be in the game. There could be a big incentive to use, like, let's say we buy one land and then the next month we raise a lot of money through revenue, and we wanted to do, like, maybe doing Binance missions would make more sense, that we could give people a lot of interest back. We could have a sort of like community bank where people store their TLM and we distribute some rewards back to them. And we could also put less pressure on the pack things, and maybe we could outline and say, like, hey, let's agree this month is that we would like to do a pack, and let's focus on really doing some mining in order to fund the extra cost. So if we all agree that we're going to work hard and we're going to mine, maybe we can open a pack together, and that opens up those opportunities. Then what I'm saying is 10% always goes to this guild fund, which is for day-to-day running expenses. The people are putting a lot of hard work at the moment, and I think that like they need to be rewarded in some sense. So there's members of the team that are putting in more hours than they are like a full-time job, and maybe it's that they get a small amount of TLM per week for their efforts. I only think that it's fair because without them, it's actually, they're providing so much value to us that they might. I think that they need to be rewarded, and that this guild fund could be used for our own NFTs, any items that we need. Let's say that we need artifacts or other items in the future that we're going to need to distribute to everyone. We can, take this fund and use it for them. And then I was even thinking something like, when the Thunderdome's released, maybe not everyone has the necessary tools to get involved. So maybe we could even have a Thunderdome scholarship. That would be fun. Because, like I said, this whole thing is about me. What's the point of this guild? The point of this guild is every single person gets to interact with the full access to the game. So I want there be no restrictions. I want everyone to be able to use the best tools. I want everyone to be able to take part in all features of the game as intended. There's no feature that's only explicitly available for people with loads of money. Nope. We're all going to be landowners. We're all going to take part in the Thunderdome. We're all going to take part in the Binance missions. And if my idea works, we're all going to take part in the governance. So it moves on to the next thing, is that this CPU and tool loaning tool that is, 5% to initially get that up and running with the maintenance costs would be invaluable, because that gives us the ability to get to the point where you're no longer required to stake yourself or others. You can get a CPU as and when you mine on demand, and that is a huge game changer. And because a lot of people, like, they just want to mine. Honestly, all they want to do is they don't want to worry about going on blocks and tracking their CPU. They just don't care. Like, it's a game to them. You want to go log in, you want to mine, you want to see it's exciting. You might get some chance of doing something, like of dropping something good. That's what it's about. So 5% of the revenue I'm suggesting that would go towards getting this, and we would pay a sort of fixed fee to secure this tool for our guild, and means that everyone using it could have a much reduced rate that potentially, if it went out to other wider members to raise more money, that the other members wouldn't be able to get. The next part is the governance, as we said. And this is part of why I maybe just don't want to constantly keep taking people's money for fun new land purchases, because at some point, we need to give back to the planet, and I'd rather just a lot of people just take the money that they're investing in and invest it in the planet, and take that trillium, and if everyone stakes like 100 trillion here and there, it makes a big difference. So um, that's what we want to do, is get yourself a vote so you can vote in the elections. Let's get some candidates and get some 3 suitable candidates on the run. I definitely want one of them to be a community candidate, and I think that's what I want to do, is maybe that we would stream those council meetings and everyone can see what's going on, and they get to be part of the council almost. And like, that's what I want. Is every feature of the game I want everyone to interact with. That's all I want for this game. 5% goes to lead developer. I'm just going to be honest, like, without Izzy, if you don't know, Izzy 21, he's the one that built the land ownership smart contract. It's literally not possible to do what we do at the moment without him. I think you would actually struggle if you put out an advert to hire like a developer to get someone as good as him. We're very lucky that he spends time working with us, and this is a fair reward for the work that he does, because we are really innovating and we're doing like loads of cool stuff, and without him it's not possible. And then finally, other people have come and said to me that I should be taking a percentage because of the time that I'm spending, and I'm open to that and that. But what I'm going to be doing, as long as I'm taking that percentage of the guild, then my lands are going to be available to everyone, and it's going to be one community land, and that weekly income I get from the detail, that becomes part of the guild's fund, becomes part of the whole group's revenue. And then I just want to talk about, like, trying to get back to it, keep it simple. We just got Snaky ownership token, and then we've got a community reward token, and I don't want all these land ownership tokens. So the idea is that if you do have these land ownership tokens, they will be converted back to Snaky for you. Okay, so I'm going to take a few questions, and I'm going to move on to some other stuff that I want to discuss. So would only the guild earn tokens, or would that be everyone? Someone came up with a good idea. I think it was Jaded came up with a very interesting idea that we could make it so that everyone that mines on the land earns hiss, but only members in the community that would be active members of the Discord would kind of be realizing that you need to exchange them for Snaky. So whether it be a direct exchange or whether we do it through community engagements, and that way your shares are not being diluted by thousands and thousands of miners that may flock to our lands once you get the CPU tools, that will be advertised in the guild, and people that are interested can join the Discord, and then maybe they learn what to do. I actually kind of like that idea, and I'll do some thinking about that. Regarding some other questions involving your percentage payouts and transparency guild fund, will team be defined as exactly as who gets paid the amounts? Is lead developer development team? Yeah, so there is going to be an explicit team with roles, and I will be making it transparent of how much they're each getting paid. I've not finalized what the team is yet, but it's people that I work with every day, and they're not. I'm not saying that it's permanent, but we're going to try, and I'm not even sure how much they're going to reward they're going to get, but it's more like a lot of them are not really doing it for the reward, but I just wanted to make it more transparent. If people are getting anything in reward, it will be explicitly stated, and what they're getting a reward for. So What seems to be the rush for another land funding so soon before everything else is in place so we can see how things. Um, I mean, it just comes down to like this structure is just. I think it's a bit flawed if I'm honest. Like it's getting to a point where people are saying to me that they don't want premium land to be bought because people are going to start mining on that land, and Rocky Coastline's not going to make any money. They're not going to get their investment back. So fundamentally, it's influencing people even that own in both lands are thinking like, actually, let's not go for a better land because people are going to mine on it. I think that the rush is that like at any stage of work in my real life, if you identify something early, it's best to step in and fix it. And in my opinion, the system we've got is a bit flawed, and um, so that's where the rush comes from. Is that now is the time to get the system in place, and because people are already getting confused, and I'm getting a lot of feedback from people where they like we're trying to make things engaging and easy for people, and also provide value in terms of the smart contracts and give them a bit of experience of this great aspect of blockchain, but um, the tokens and the constantly exchanging of the tokens and all that, it's just not clean. So um, I think that this is now's the time before if we continue at this pace and get as many lands, it's going to be a nightmare to get it all back together again. And that this is the time, if any, to merge it together and then move forward. Because there's no way that I'm going to be able to convince people. The people that own the lands like of land B, they're not going to care about what happens with land A. Like once everything's up and running and they see all the people are mining on that land, or for example, they might go, I don't really care. Don't really care about the people in land A. But doesn't want to get don't want to get confusing to people. Nice to make some options automatic, so you can set it automatic. So if people donate weekly and come to the guild or hourly update. I mean, the guidance will always be to stake to Neuron, I think. Right, so and we will provide guidance that, and we will have funds that people can donate to for the governance. I agree with the pooling of your land idea, but I think the extra percentage of payouts to these new percentages needs to be well defined to avoid confusion and also keep the optics of this transparent, especially when advertising how it works to the outside world and convincing alien worlds that we are not a Ponzi scheme. Yeah, I mean everything's going to be transparent. I've got nothing to hide. Um, I will do my best to make sure everything goes on, that you can see what's going on, and that's why I want to tidy things up so there's no confusion. So whether it needs to get down to every granular level of writing every single thing that I do or say to people down, I don't want to get down to that level, but I'm happy to provide as much transparency as possible, and I'm happy to speak to anyone, and anyone can watch these videos and just kind of get a feel for what I'm about. Okay. Right, so I'm going to move on to the current business of in terms of what we've got in the bank. And as a result of this latest round of funding that we've done for the community lands. So you can see that we have 249,983 wax. We've gone through we've been patient with transforming it from TLM to wax to make sure that we didn't lose any value, and I believe we've actually gained around like 15,000 wax worth of value, if not 17,000. So it gives us a bit more room to work with. And I just want to show you a sort of a feel for what's on the market right now. So you can see the lowest possible land on any planet is around like 55,000 wax, 56,000 wax. You get a feel for it. If our budget is 249, I just say 250,000 wax. It's easier. You can have a look at what's available. And our focus is on the RON, and I'm not saying that every land we need to buy on the RON, but there's a couple of different options that jump out that that should be considered of what we would maybe do with this money. This one sandy desert on the RON is 58,000 wax, one of the cheapest lands that you can buy, and you know it could be used in a way that we could use it in conjunction of buying a premium land. So we could pick up, for example, let's do some maths here. So if we take 58,000 wax here, and we could also take maybe one of the mountain lands is 65,000 wax. And then the Rocky Crater, which is one of the better NFT lands, that is 83,500 wax. So you're looking at 206,500 wax, and it's not quite enough then to stretch to the 4 lands. But I mean, it's close. So what you could do if people are interested in raising a tiny bit more, or I could cover the difference myself, is that we could maybe look at stretching this to purchase the 4 lands. But in terms of the RON, you know, these best value lands are good at picking up. Or we could look at maybe stretching to a rare land, but again, we don't know for sure what this rarity is going to do, so that's a risk. The reason why we bought a rare land the last time is because it was very, very good price and very good stats. And but then I also want to talk about, well, we could still buy 3 lands, right? And it's only fair to bring up the option of the sandy coastline. So there's a sandy coastline on the market for 120,000 wax. So, you know, we could be in a position where we could buy a sandy coastline and 2 lands on the RON, and we would end up with 3 lands. We'd end up with the best land in the game. And a lot of people have been talking about it, but essentially what it comes down to is the price of this land is about 1.5. It's a bit more expensive than land, or if depending on what land you buy, it could be double. But in terms of the value that we get on the RON, it might be an option that people want to consider, to say, like, look, as a guild, we would want the best quality land. And although I've said in the past that maybe it's better to just buy as many lands as possible, if we were going to do an extra fundraising round, maybe that next fundraising round would be focused on gaining as much lands as possible, or maybe this one would be get as much lands as possible, and we'll worry about the premium in the next one. I just want to know is that if you look at the stats of the land, you know, you can clearly see is that, as people have correctly pointed out to me, is that we do not have a very, very good NFT land. We could buy Rocky Crater, which is 83% efficient, but that is only a 4% increase in terms of what we've currently got, and Rocky Crater is around $19,000, whereas if we spent $26,000, we could get the best efficient land. And you could sort of combine it with the increased amount of wax that we've got available through the trading that we've done. We could potentially pick up a sandy coastline and 2 good value lands on the RON. And that, before I wasn't convinced by that option, but now I'm thinking, it does sound pretty good, and that's definitely something that I want people to consider. So some of this figures that I was doing was when we had less in the bank, but you can see here's what you could is that this is what I'm saying, is that you could pick up the Sandy Desert, Rocky Crater, Icy Mountains. They're all good stats land. You know, this one's 3rd in total efficiency, this one's 5th in total efficiency. There's nothing to write home about the people that are currently mining on it, but overall it would cost you 233,000 wax, and I did some rough calculations of how long it takes to pay that back. you could do the same thing. Maybe you would substitute one of the lands for this mountains land, which has a load of people currently mining on it at a low commission rate. We could take it over and increase the commission, and maybe some of the people would leave, but some of the people would stay, and that maybe that's a good investment opportunity, even though it's a land that we already have. Um, um, or I was going to put a fourth option in, but I ran out of time today, unfortunately. So I've not been feeling well. But with that, we add a bit more into the pot, and we buy 4 of the cheapest lands. And or this one is that this was before I knew sort of the budgeting, but now I think we're in a position where we could combine Sandy Coastline with 2 cheapish value lands on the run, and we could afford it. So it's definitely something worth thinking about, because we get the best of both worlds. We get some more land on the run, which is the planet we're focusing on, because we believe that we can put back into the planet and massively increase the value of everything on the planet. But it's always nice to have some options. Like, we have my lands that are on other planets, and we don't have anything on Veles yet. That could be an option in Veles. So yeah, so the way I see it is that we could get 3 good value lands on the run, some with better stats. We could do a variation of that. We could go for, I'm just going to change this. It's a bit of a shame that I've not managed to do it. Is that, so maybe we would just like not care where they're from. Maybe we manage to get 2 on the run, like just the cheapest ones. There might be already ones that we already have, so they could be just sandy desert, icy desert, mountains, and then another, like on another planet, a cheap one, and that would increase the detail payment. So I think that, or we can just talk about we can have a look at the lowest price. So that's 50. Again, it all just comes down to it's around 55,000 wax. We've got 250,000 wax. How do you guys want to spend the money? I've listed some good options. I'm happy to receive suggestions, and so I need to be better at that whole time I was talking, I wasn't showing you the right bit of the screen. So I was only showing you the board. I've been showing you the atomic club and the prices of things, so that's a bit annoying. But if we need to do the set up the voting, so I think Izzy's watching, so it's alright if I give you a call, Izzy, and we talk. Maybe give people a bit of an update on how the voting's going to work. I can call you on Discord, and maybe you can talk it through with people how it's going to work. If not, I can give it a go. Yeah, I'll give him a call. Fantastic stuff. Hello?
Hello?
Yo, can everyone just verify that they can hear Izzy?
I'm going to pause the stream. I'm getting an echo.
Yeah, people can hear you. That's fine. Yeah, I'm so annoyed. I literally just spent like 10 minutes talking about the lands. I never changed the thing. I'm a bit of a noob when it comes to. Let me just go back and quickly summarize before I talk about the voting. So here's what I was saying. Is Sandy Coastline is 120,000 wax. We've got 250,000 wax. We could squeeze Sandy Coastline and 2 cheap lands on the run in. That is one of the options as discussed. We've got Sandy Desert, which is 58,000 wax. It's on the planet that we want. It's good value. It's going to bring good detail income. There's also some other cheap lands that we can consider. Rocky Crater, if we're not going down the Sandy Coastline route, is the next best thing. And that is a bit more expensive, as 83,500 wax. There's also Icy Mountains, which is a good TLM land that we could get on the run. And the only other option that would maybe point people to is the rarity. Maybe people are interested in this. This is one of the cheapest rare lands that you can buy at the moment, because it's a tree forest. Tree forest is not that great. But so, and then also the option is either for this one or maybe a future one is, well, do we, maybe we buy 2 on their own, and then we just save. We really push it and get 4, and maybe we just pick up the cheapest ones because at the end of the day, detail payment. Money's coming in my pocket each week. I don't care how. So those are the kind of
See,
options, and people I would encourage you to go onto Atomic Club, do some research, and I welcome your feedback. But yeah, so if you
um,
could explain how the voting is going to work for people.
yeah, right before that, I just want to give my opinion on the lands. See, I feel like we should go for the detail payment. Someone mentioned before there's pretty cheap grassland right now on a different planet for sale, and I believe we can purchase that, which is the number 2 TLM efficiency land, along with getting 3 lands on Neuron, which would give us the biggest detail payment. We would get the second most efficient TLM land, and we can essentially have everyone just mine on that one land. I don't know if that would be something people are interested in, but
Well, no, but it's not. Well,
it
so
is
it's the second most overall efficient grassland, and it's a good price.
okay.
You can pick up grassland for a good price. It's definitely a good option that I was looking at earlier. However, we already have if people want TLM efficiency, what I'm saying is that you can mine on Cavian and get Icy Desert, and you can get 93.75%
I see. I
TLM
see.
efficiency.
Okay.
So, and then the one thing is that I initially was of the opinion that Sandy Coastline was maybe a bit of a waste of money, but um, the we don't have an option that's good for NFT efficiency, and for our newer players, like people are never like it's hard to get out of just mining. And I know we're going to have a tool learning system that's going to help with that, but people will want to own their own stuff, and for a bit more expense, then we could pick up one of the premium lands in the game that is going to attract more players. So and if we could fit that into an option where we're buying 3 lands, which is what we thought we were going to set out to do anyway. We've only got more money because of a bit of luck and a bit of patience. So maybe we would stick to that original plan and buy 3 lands. But the opportunities come up. If you guys want to get the 4 lands, then that's like I said, it's going to come down to a vote, and it's kind of an important decision to make. And I'd be interested to see what people's thoughts are and what the way sort of the general mood is feeling before the vote takes place.
Yeah. So with the vote, anyone who currently has snaky tokens, I will open up a new contracts account later today. I'll have to do it when I finish my day job, but essentially everyone will send in their snaky tokens. They will get back a ownership token, which could possibly be temporary or permanent, depending on how we vote with that. But then they will get back 3 different voting tokens. We're going to have 3 different votes. The first one is going to probably be how many lands we want to buy, 2, 3, or 4. And then the second vote, we're going to have a couple different options, like Sammy has here on the screen of which lands we could possibly buy. So that second vote would be which group of lands we could buy, and then that last vote is going to be if we should join in with this land share B group into this new plan that Sammy presented at the beginning. Yeah, how does that sound?
I mean, it sounds pretty reasonable to me. I think the only thing is that it's always a bit of a struggle to round up people to get to the exchange their tokens. So the question I would ask is, what happens to what happens to the votes that have not been exchanged? Like, so if people haven't exchanged their snakies, who does the vote fall to?
So in that instance, everyone else essentially gets a slightly higher voting power because some people are not voting. Because we're just going to take which of the options has the highest votes, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not casting your vote, essentially you're saying everyone else's vote is going to have a little more importance than mine because I'm just not going to vote. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and the only other thing that I would say is that if we're using this as a way of voting on 3 different things, then if you think about the first 2 votes, how many lands we're going to buy, what type of lands. So that would be people that have obviously invested in the second land fund, right? But the
Yes.
third vote would be also people that have invested in the first land, right? So how will they get the voting tokens?
So what I envision for this, since I already have it set up for the first year contract, I can send everybody out who own the SS Land A share tokens, the voting tokens directly.
Right.
And then when people exchange their Snaky right now for SS Land B tokens, I will give them that third voting token.
Great. Okay, so that sounds simple enough. Is the end result is everyone ends up with voting tokens,
Yes.
which is good no matter which land that they've been involved if everyone gets the voting tokens. And the only thing is that what they need to do is there's going to be another exchange period for people that were familiar with the first exchange period. If you're going to need to take your snakies now and send them to an address that we tell you, and you're going to get some tokens back. And then, but are you getting tokens back and then voting tokens, or are you just getting one set of tokens?
So when you exchange them, you'll get per Snaky, you'll get 4 tokens back, but they're going to be 4 separate tokens. So one of them is going to be the ownership token, um, and then the other 3 are going to be like vote A, vote 1, vote 2, vote 3.
Yeah.
And so the key thing is we need to make sure everyone understands when we do the voting, we're just going to have the vote 1 round. You're going to send back that, and we'll explain the exact rules. Your vote will be in the memo, and you'll send it back to the same contract. And then with vote B, we're going to have to explain what the options are, and vote C, the same thing.
Right. Okay. Um, and the only thing that I would say is that would it make sense to hold the vote about the ownership first or last?
Um, I feel like we need to figure out the land buying first. I think that's like the big thing on everyone's mind. We've now converted all the trillium to wax, and we can buy the lands as soon as we decide what we want to buy.
Yeah, but the only thing in the back of my head is that I would maybe, if I was an investor, I would maybe change my mind in that if I knew how it was
It
going to work
also
in the
makes
future.
sense.
Yeah, so like
That's true.
yeah, um, so
I don't know.
so
What are you guys' thoughts? Do you think we should have the uh, deciding the land first, or deciding to put all of our lands together in one group first? Because that does make a lot of sense in that if we do join all the lands, we might want to buy different lands. It would definitely change my preference.
how is voting power of land A and land B owners being balanced for combining part? I mean, everyone has the same amount of snakies effectively because of snakies are 1 trillion.
I think what they're asking is land A purchased their lands, I guess, a week to 2 weeks ago now, and essentially they have land A shares. Land B is going to have their land B shares. What is the breakdown of combining those two? How much is a land A share worth versus a land B share? And how are they going to keep their percentage that same ratio when they combine it?
But in terms of how much power a vote has, because of the number of land A tokens they have is directly represented by the number of snaky they sent in. So effectively, you would have the same number of votes. You just might have more tokens if you invested more in the second one.
Okay, so that makes sense. So essentially, we are saying that one uh, land B share is the same strength as one land A share.
In terms of voting
So
power, yes, because
yes,
like
okay,
that's because of they got the snaky by donating 1 TLM. So whether you put 1 TLM into the first land or 1 TLM into the second land, that's still 1 TLM.
okay, that makes sense then.
Um, and the only thing is people might get annoyed having to send 3 different tokens. There's going to be a lot of tokens to vote.
Sorry, repeat that. I was
So
reading one of the questions here.
yeah, so the only concern I see from people is that it's a lot of tokens to vote with. That they're going to have to gain. There's going to be 4 new tokens for them in some cases.
I know. The problem is there's not a good way to track ownership without explicitly giving everybody an ownership and vote token. Because, um, like, if we did it on Discord, you can't really track who owns what account. There's no way to prove somebody owns an account or to show that they own, say, 1% versus 5% and how much weight their vote should have.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The voting tokens are used once and then forgot forever. So that's why we will give out multiple voting tokens. Each token is going to be used for one vote, and then they're thrown away. So they will only be used once.
Okay. And when do we think that the first voting is going to be able to take place? So someone's suggesting why wouldn't we just vote on Discord?
Well, that's what I was saying. So on Discord, it's too hard to try and track uh, who owns the current snaky tokens and who doesn't, and how many of those snaky tokens they currently hold to be able to show how much voting power somebody has.
Okay, that makes sense. Um, so, uh, okay. Does anyone have any more questions? Someone says, why not do one token and choose your option in memo?
Because of what we're voting for, it's not something that you can try and pin all the options against each other. There's too many options that don't correlate directly to each other. Like uh, if we want to vote on saying we want 2 lands versus 3 versus 4, and then which lands we want, if we say we only want 2 lands, I think the choices for those two will be a lot more valuable lands versus saying we want 4 lands. We're not going to choose the same 2 lands in that mix. So it's easier to first decide which, how many lands we want, and then decide, okay, we're going for 4 no matter what. Which 4 are the best 4 that we can get?
If the community decided to unify, all lands, would it be better to track the shares using the snaky and remove the slander token? That's kind of the idea. We want to remove the SS Lande token because I think it just makes things easier to have everything under snaky as an ownership token and hiss as a community token. Should we assume that there will be a final land A disbursement prior to the merger since the land A has been earning since purchase?
I put yes to that.
Yeah,
Um,
I would say yes as well.
the uh, voting token in intervals. What I can technically do, um, SS Land A, 1 snaky. Yes, SS Land A was 1 trillium, or 1 snaky was 1 share. Um, but what I can technically do is give out the land share B tokens with the first voting token. And you have to vote in the first round to get the second round voting token. That way, people only have one voting token at a time. Does that sound like something people would be interested in?
Yeah, I think that might make things a bit easier if they just had one token. If you're going to make the Unity ownerships for lands will change, or current owners will have moved piece from the pie they already have. I mean, if we combine, your overall percentage share of the organization will decrease, but your value of the share will increase and your revenue will increase because you gain access to my lands, my detail payment every week, and then also other people's lands. If we send all Snakey to get vote tokens, and then later after vote, we won't happen any vote or Snakey token, right? Well, so then the ownership tokens, well, if we have a merger, there'll be one final exchange where you would convert your ownership tokens to back to Snaky.
Um, Sorry, just to clarify, we did do a refund of the unused wax from the land A purchase. We will do the exact same thing for land B after we buy it, before we do the merge. So there's going to be no extra leftover funds for Land B when we do the merge. We will also pay out any Trillium that is currently in the Land A contract before we do the merge. So again, there'll be nothing left over in either one of those contracts before we do the merge, just to make sure everybody gets their share of what was left over in purchasing.
Well, someone brought up a very good point in that technically, as there was a 9,000 wax refund on the first vote, then technically the overall value of the votes would be slightly less than the second.
I think we're going to have a refund as well in the second, so it's going to be the
Okay, it's
same
going to even
scenario.
out. I think, to be honest, that the amount would be negligible. I think if the vote was very close, then we might need to think about the like how a recount would affect that, for example. But I don't feel like the way that the distributions are, that'll be coming to
Yeah, I don't
play.
think it'll matter too much, and um, yeah, I mean, Sammy is putting his 3 lands in there too, and it's not like he's taking more ownership of everything. He's actually taking less. So I think it all works out in the end.
Um,
And then there was a question a lot further out that I think we might have missed. We're going to figure out the land purchasing, the merging of A and B. All of this stuff's going to be done with a break period before we actually do another round of fundraising. So we're going to make sure everything is figured out before we actually open.
will the merging payout percentages be adjustable at a later date, or can they be updated? I think we'll need to remain flexible. I think we will need to remain flexible. I don't think that we could just lock it in now and say that these are going to be the percentages forever. So I'll maybe write a document saying that these are subject to change. And as with everything, I try to change things in the interest of the community, not the interest of myself. So it wouldn't be anything changes that one day you just turn up on the document and it says Sammy 100%, everyone 0. See you later. Not going to be like that. I think the percentages would only change if we are allocating too much money to the guild fund and not using it, allocating too much to the land fund, or like tweak them for the better. Um, if the vote to merge is successful, could we put the left wax from the first percentage into the new purchase? I think people have already taken their money and
We've
spent it,
already
so
paid that
no.
out. We've
Uh,
already paid that out to people.
yeah. Sammy should take at least an equal share of ownership. Then he could choose how much earnings to donate. But we want Sammy to have a big voting share. Well, in terms of the future, I think to sort of make sure that things stay along the same level is that like the guild actually has quite a big say in what goes on in terms of the decision making. So if people aren't happy about that, that's another thing that will need to be discussed. But I am not like the guild itself is not losing control over things. It's not going to be all in the hands. So it's that. This is why I tried to put it is the voting power of the token holders and the guild. And again, that's another thing up for debate. But I think it does make things a bit easier if you guys trust me and continue wanting me to do it for you, then I'm happy to take on that role and speak for people that don't want to vote. But I like the idea of having people vote on everything. But like I said, it's all up for debate.
Um, if you currently have unpaid Snaky tokens, the reason why they're unpaid is because we already closed the round of funding for the Land B purchase. So you will not receive those until we start doing round 3. So we want to make sure we don't dilute the pool because we've already closed getting in on the second round.
So I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to write up a document similar to how I've done the other documents and sort of explain all of this what I've talked about today and how the new mechanics can work and have people review it and then any feedback on it and then if people are happy to go to the vote, we go to the vote and we get things moving. We
Yeah,
do kind of
that
want to
sounds
move
good.
quickly because we're at a position where we can buy all the stuff we want. We don't want like trillion price to now shoot up and then we can't afford the lands we want. So we do want to, like I said, people have spent this money. They want to see the lands. They want to start earning the things. So we do need to try and get stuff tidied up. But anyone have any more questions?
What about the guild fund? Yeah.
Will the guild fund also be used to create a guild website and do promotion for the guild? Yes, we could look at doing that. The growth, not a good suggestion, but can you please put a memo on random miners who got snaky
We
tokens?
have that already.
Oh yeah, we do, don't we? Everyone that receives tokens through us gets a link to the guild now, the Discord. Sammy,
Yeah.
what do you think about
It might
dilution?
not be.
Sorry,
Sorry,
continue.
go ahead.
No, you can finish and I'll get to that question in a bit.
I was gonna say the link should be on people who earn snaky tokens from mining, but I do have to verify that. I know it's on one of the like if you had bought them directly. But yeah, I will make sure on any payments that we send out in Snaky and Hiss, any of the share token contracts, basically anything on there that involves us sending stuff from a contract, it's all going to include the Discord link.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a good question. Simon, what do you think about dilution? People invested lots of money to get a couple of percentages in the lands, but now if the tokens merge and then the third investment we raise over $100,000, then all those people's percentages they got by being early get diluted. Not to mention that third-party investment will likely bring a bunch of whales who don't even care about the community, but are just here for the phenomenal investment. There's been talk of an investment cap, maybe for the third period that we could look at doing. Um, that's something that I'm open to see if that is not that people want. Is maybe there would be a max amount that an individual person could invest. I don't know if it would be extensive enough to. I don't think we'd be implement anything to stop people creating multiple accounts if they really want to. But people are always going to try and get around it. But we can try and do that and look at doing that. I don't know if that harms us if we limit the amount that people can invest. I don't know. Um, the other thing, though, to remember is even if your percentage is getting smaller, if we go down this merger route, then the guild is likely to be very successful because if you think about how much of that treasury fund we're going to have available to constantly purchase new lands of which you earn revenue on, then although your percentage is getting smaller, the value of your snaky tokens is going to be very high. And if someone wants to come in outside in the future after we've closed the investment period and buy them, they're going to have to pay a premium because you're not going to want to sell because we're constantly growing. We're using the revenue, we're buying more lands, which make us more money. So although your percentage shares may get smaller through the investment, then it could potentially be a very good thing for you already owning the tokens because you already own them. No one could take them away from you. And then if we then would close it thereafter and no one else could invest, then you've got the tokens. If people want them, they're going to have to pay a hefty price. And every time we buy a land in the future using this new treasury fund, or every time we do the Binance missions and get good stuff, get good rewards, you're going to keep getting rewarded. So this is why I think that it's a good idea. But no doubt there will be some valid points, some edge cases that people raise, and put it in the land ownership discussion channel of pointing out things that I've not discussed here, and let's get these edge cases sorted out of potential problems we could have with this.
Just to answer one more question, because this does it brings up a valid point, and I think the solution. So in land A, we have not received a detail payment.
No,
And in land
that's
B,
incorrect. That's incorrect.
oh,
They
did we get it in
last
the
night.
last couple hours?
Last night.
Okay, that's why. Okay, that's why. So uh, for people who own land A and then merging with land B, it's unfair to land B because land A already got the detail payment and land B is then splitting their detail payment with land A owners. So my solution to this is I will not pay out the detailed payment from land A until we figure out if we're merging. Because if we're merging, I would hold that detailed payment and then everybody from land A shares and land B shares would all equally get every single DTOL payment. So there would be no land A token holders earning more because they got their DTOL payment. So that does that all make sense?
But does it
DTOL payments are every 7 to 10 days.
but does it not make sense that they've already been ownership and started earning on that land, that that is part of their income and that they're not entitled to that before?
So it depends. I don't know. I mean, this is whatever you think. I don't know whatever is fair because it does make sense that they're joining in on land B and then they're going to get the DTOL, but it's also timing of when we actually decided to merge versus not merge. You know? Yeah. I mean, it does make sense that they should get it because they're involved early. I mean, this
Yeah,
is whatever we think is fair.
I
So
would, in my opinion, they should get paid out that.
okay, then I will pay everything out that is in land A's contract.
Yeah.
I will pay out any remainder from purchase B to anybody who owns land B shares. So the minimum amount is 4 decimals because that's what Trillium has, just to verify. And yeah, the reason why we're not just paying out on every single time somebody mines is because the precision decimal. So we wait until a certain amount accumulates based on the total amount of shares so that we can distribute like 0.01 per share. That way, it's even, nobody loses any amount of Trillium because their share is so small. DTOL is not including the commission. DTOL is something completely separate from the commission the land. The DTOL payment is something the Federation pays directly to land owners, regardless of what the commission is. And that's just a weekly or week and a half type of thing.
The only other thing that the major question that I was asked is what happens to the the rate in which people could, if we were to close the investment, what would happen to the rate of which people could accumulate snakies? Would it stay the same, that calculation, or what?
I think that's something we would vote on.
Okay. Because
Yeah, I think that's something we should vote on. But uh, go ahead.
no, it's finished. You're happy to finish.
What I was going to say is, I think we should divide it by 10, possibly the current amount, the rate that people are earning snaky tokens, um, or that idea you were saying earlier from talking to somebody else, where if you're part of this guild, you can earn snaky tokens, and if you're somebody outside, you can only earn hits
No, so
or
no,
something like that.
well, so yeah, so the reason I really like that idea is that we're still paying out everyone the same. It's easy to do. Everyone that mines on the land would get hiss, and then if you're part of the Discord community and interactive, you know what's going on. You know to convert your hiss to snaky, and then the snaky is what is the share. So whether we would do that by a straight up swap, I think we would probably have some exchange mechanism for hiss to snaky. It might be 1-to-1, it might be a bit less. We would need to decide. But then there will also be other initiatives like the raffle and what have you to get the hiss tokens. And I think that's the fairest way because people are maybe concerned that there's going to be a flood of, let's say there's another botting problem, right? And the
Yeah.
bots flood to the land and mine up all these snaky tokens, and then they start getting all these payouts. At least this way, that we can guarantee that people that are mining and getting the shares are part of our community because they need to be on here to understand. Um, can you not just create a survey site for the vote and export a list of share owners and use this as a whitelist to access that survey? It seems easier than using tokens for voting. Personally, I like the transparency of the blockchain. I feel like it's everyone can see what went on.
I don't understand the 50-50 question. I couldn't read it off because it kept getting pushed up. But essentially, I think it's going to be one share token in either platform is going to be added to the total. So if land A has 45,000 shares and land B has 150,000 shares, essentially you would just add them up and there'll be a total of pretty close to 200,000 shares. And your one share or your X amount of shares out of the 200,000 is going to be your percentage of the total because we bought them so close together and all of them are worth 1 trillion. Um, that's essentially how we would figure out your piece of the total.
Isn't it an unfair payout based on contribution? Land A owners' total value for contributing was only one land. People that contributed in land B has three lands. It's not 50-50 when you combine. But then
That's the
people's
one
shares are
I
the
was just
same.
talking about.
People's shares are the same. Yeah, I don't get that either because at the end of the day, you bought one snake for one TLM, so surely the value is the same no matter how many lands are in that fund. Um, so if there's a merger between detail and commission payments, to be clear for land A, so if I don't know if that was a question or just him answering someone else. Can you still send TLM for Snaky for the next round of buying land? It's closed for now. When we do a next period, which will probably be in a bit because we've got a lot to tidy up. Um, what about other different fund programs just for investors? Again, that might lead us down the same route that it's investors versus miners. I really just want it to be one community. For other games, for other lands, maybe. Or maybe we were fundraise for other things. So maybe if people want to invest money, then we can provide some sort of reward for them if they invest in the governance fund. Um, maybe we could do it different ways, but in terms of land ownership, I don't want to create an us and them scenario. I think you should let us invest for one more day. That way, we'll be able to buy better land. If people vote for 4 lands, to get the 4 lands or 5 lands, we might need to raise a tiny bit more money. It could open up again, but again, I think people are sick of us open it up and keep raising money. They just want the lands to get bought.
Yeah,
So, and we do need to move
exactly.
forward with it. There's one more
The
thing.
price for snaking the future. I was just gonna say. I mean, I assumed it would still be 1 trillion as one snaky, but after we finish this merge, before we open up the third round, we can vote on that if that's what people want to do and raise the price of one snaky.
There's another one here. How is land ownership slash value divided in case we ever need to sell lands? To buy lands, for example, or other sort of emerging concepts, maybe something. Maybe it would be a situation where we think that the game is dying and we would need to sell all the lands. So Fund is giving up ownership to his 3 merging lands and taking this new 5%, which is a bold investment commitment. The scheme we saw will have him maintain 5% of all commissions from mining and detail, as to some percentages go to the team and developers. But will land sales only be for 50% token holders, given the mechanics of how they land? I think they cut off the end of it, but yeah,
I thought it would be
that's
the
the
same thing as regular distribution. I mean, if we're paying any earnings we make split amongst this chart on the screen, I think sales would be the exact same way.
yeah, yeah. But the only thing that I want to be transparent about is that the way that the guild is set up, I think that it's not that this new measure is that it wouldn't be possible to, let's say we just do the merger, right? And that I would put the lands into the thing. Based on the voting power, I don't think you'd be then able to go around tomorrow and all vote on me, vote for us to sell the lands and basically just sell the value of my lands and distribute it between everyone. I wouldn't. I think that it's set up in a way that that wouldn't happen. I certainly don't think that I would be doing it if immediately my lands were just going to get sold and like given to everyone. I don't think that's how it would work. Um,
I don't think people would want to sell though. I mean, maybe some people would, but we can put this on Alcor and you can sell your shares. I don't think we would want to actually sell the land from the system. Rather, you can sell your ownership tokens to other users.
yeah, People can sell their land ownership slices at some point, I would imagine. Yes, I mean, Snakey is already tradable on Alcor, so if Snakey becomes the ownership token, you can freely trade on the open market. Will Guild Fund / Treasury / Governance / Lead Dev also hold Snakey's equal to the
Yes.
percent? Yes.
Yes. The way to work, I have to, assuming we merge, I have to make the snaky token trackable in the token contract. So I'll have to redo part of the token contract. And you'll be able to see, just like on the pie chart, who owns snaky. Each of these pieces will have their percentage of snaky tokens. And you'll be able to see that live all times. Because that's how I track who to send the payments to, how much to send them. Yes, they well, let's see. When snakies are issued, do they dilute everyone equally? So how are we doing that?
When Snakies are issued, do they dilute everyone equally? I don't quite get it.
I think they mean in the future, after we close round 3, how we are distributing more snaky tokens.
So
Where, yeah.
I believe in order to maintain control of the guild, that the tokens would have to be issued dynamically to retain those percentages. So it's not as if that my percentage would ever drop below 5%, from my understanding.
Okay.
If lands are sold because the game is dying, then surely percentage of share we would just get equal percentage of sale price at the time.
Right.
Based on your share,
Whatever
yeah.
percentage of snaky tokens you own, that is the percentage of the sale revenue you'll get.
Yeah. The people on land B forget about the land A current value. It's doubled since the purchase, so land A owners suffer. I'm not necessarily sure that the land A value has doubled. I think that it's just hard to say because there are not very many of that land type on the market. I wouldn't say that it's doubled. House was set up during investment. Shows that the percentages were already given to these funds as described when investing round began. Where the merger of these snaky holders now change.
So it wasn't given to the way that it's shown on the screen, but we did have a different setup for when we gave out uh, the snaky tokens. And the idea is that we are changing the allocation of how we are going to govern the guild, moving to this new model. So the SS Land A tokens are fixed. There's only 45,000 or so in circulation. There's never going to be any more of those printed. The same thing's going to happen. Well, if the merge doesn't happen, the same thing will happen with Land B. When we merge I'm sorry, not when we merge. When we convert them to Land B tokens, there'll be a conversion period, maybe 2 or 3 days, like we did with Land A. And after that period is over, no more of those tokens will be printed. Are which holders getting a vote? Oh,
You said holders get a token to vote. Is this for the new system or the old system? Or I think it means this does the governance fund get... Oh right, yeah. So the holders of the tokens, then yes, they get a vote. It was the same in the when we decided which land to purchase on the the first land is that the guild inputted his vote, which was decided by me. Can you see the issue is that 30% of the is you guys? I mean that I do see what you mean. Is that we do control a large portion of the votes. So in the end, you kind of just have to, if you're being a part of it, you have to trust our judgment. And that's always from the start, from the first interview I ever gave, is that in order for this to work, that people have to trust me. And I think so far that I always show that I'm worthy of that trust. But like I said, if it makes you uncomfortable, the voting percentages, please come to me. But also, from the opposite side, you might think to yourself, God, he might feel uncomfortable. He's offering up his lands here. So I like
To answer your question, sorry, finish.
I lost my train of thought anyway. So
To answer a question earlier, so specifically for the Land A tokens, it is fixed at printing a maximum of 50,000. It literally cannot print any more than 50,000. I put the amount slightly above the total amount of snaky tokens at the time to make sure we could account for anybody else getting snaky tokens buying in that we had missed. But it literally cannot print more than 50,000 because that's what's written in the token contract. It currently only has 45,000 printed, but there's no reason we would ever print more than 50,000. With the Land B tokens, when we get those out, it's going to be the same thing. I will make the cap, essentially the most that can be printed, slightly above to make sure everybody has a chance to convert their snaky tokens to Land B shares. If we do this in the new governance system that we're showing here, the snaky tokens will have a different cap because miners will be able to create them, but at a very slow rate. If we want to buy out members, I don't know if that's going to be a possibility or not because you can't force somebody to send their token back. Somebody could create an account, put snaky tokens in there or whatever type of ownership tokens and forget their account and leave it there for years. So I'm not sure if it's really possible to buy out a different member or group of members.
okay. I think there did, yeah. I think maybe there does still need to be some clarity in the document I produce about this voting power of the guild. Like, who does that percentage actually belong to? And if we were talking about shares of a company, who does that reside with?
Yeah.
So I don't know what people think. I don't know if people think that the like oversight of these guild votes for this new representation, if we're going to vote on stuff in the future, I don't know if people feel as if that should just rest with me or a board or the team. I don't know. There needs to be documentation and clarity. I feel, yeah, I agree. I'm happy to do that.
I think, like with the Treasury Fund, I think instead of needing to vote on every specific decision, what we will try and do is set up essentially voting rules or buying rules or rules to set up what the Treasury Fund can do and how it can do it so that we don't, like, if we see a good deal show up to buy cheap land, we can just buy it based on whatever rules the token holders set up. Because needing to do this voting system, I don't know, every couple of days or even every week, it's very cumbersome and it takes a while to make sure we can get everybody on because some people may just buy some tokens and then stop using their account. But yeah, I think we need to, looking forward, if we do merge, start setting up voting rule or purchasing rules as opposed to trying to do a vote on every single thing. We can have a rule that says if we're going to change percentages, we're going to do a vote no matter what. But if we're going to buy land, we have these criteria, and as long as it meets this criteria, then we can purchase it.
Have you talked about the new system you mentioned yesterday about tools? No, not yet. I mean, Izzy's still developing it.
Yeah, I'm uh, almost done with the new CPU system. I'm hoping to finish it in a couple days now, and adding in the tool loaning system with that won't be too much more. Um, so my timeline is by this weekend, I'm going to be testing out, possibly using one or two members to use this new system, and we'll kind of go from there. But the idea or the goal, at least, is this CPU tooling loaning system fund, that 5% that it's going towards, along with a couple other things, is you won't have to stake anymore. You don't need to worry about CPU usage. The system that I'm building will take care of all of that.
Okay, I think that's enough talking at you. If you do have any more questions, put them in land ownership discussion so that we can all have a chat. And thank you everyone for tuning in. I know this has been a long stream, quite a lot of stuff to take in. I hope it's all clear to you. Please raise it if you got any questions. Thank you very much for turning up. You just raised a lot of cash, but the funds are allocated in a way that raised flags due to our investments going towards into these particular funds, and now those funds have the power to vote, even at this merger, at almost 30%. Again, I'm not quite sure I understand. There's always going to be some version of power that I have to obviously steer things in the right direction, right? I mean, this whole thing was sort of started off the back of giving back to the community off of the fact that I own these lands. So I don't know if we need to just make it more official and that I'm some sort of CEO that people vote in and then I hold the power. And then if I were to become a tyrant, people could vote me out. I don't know. Maybe we need to do that. I don't know. It gets to a point where how much do you really want to go down of documenting things? If you need me to be completely transparent, then I will do. It just might take me time. Or if we're a happy medium of where I outline the stuff and people vote on it and they're happy, then that's fine. Right. Okay. Thank you very much for everyone tuning in, and I will talk to you later.
Sammy snakes us in words, hissing
All right, thank you, everyone.
Sammy snakes us in words, hissing all the time. Hissing with a hissing with a Sammy snakes us in words, he's hissing all the time. Sammy snakes us in words, hissing all the time. Sammy snakes us in words, hissing all the time. Hissing with a hissing with a Sammy snakes us in words, he's hissing all the time.